Okay, Larry, it's time for the theme song.
Yeah, Bob. What do I do?
Let's see. I know! You play the guitar.
Bob, I don't have any hands.
Oh, you're right. Well, okay, you play this.
I don't want to play that. I'll look silly.
Oh, come on! It'll be fun!
Nope, not gonna do it.
It's for the kids.
Oh, okay. But they better not laugh.
All right, better get on out there.
If you like to talk to tomatoes, if a squash can make you smile, if you like to waltz with potatoes, up and down the produce aisle, have we got a show for you?
Veggietales, 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 Veggietales.
Broccoli, celery, gotta be
Veggietales.
Lima beans, collard greens, peachy keen,
Veggietales.
cauliflower, sweet and sour, half an hour.
Veggietales. There's never ever a show like Veggietales. There's never ever a show like Veggietales. It's time for Veggietales.
Hey guys, Pea Sugar Critic here once again, and welcome back to my new Veggietales analysis series. Today we'll be reviewing Are You My Neighbor, the third episode in the Veggietales saga, and also another top tier episode. I feel like no one will disagree with me on that, because this episode is awesome. It still remains as a nostalgic classic for a lot of people who grew up on Veggietales, including myself. There's good reason why, because not only did this episode brought back the silly song that most people really wanted, but also this episode helped Big Idea get them back on track with the formula that they set in Where's God When I'm Scared, but still was trying to find their fitting in God Wants Me to Forgive Them. But this episode helped Big Idea find their formula on what to do in each new Veggietales installment afterward. But how did Are You My Neighbor help Big Idea find their formula? How did it become a nostalgia classic that many people remember when they think about Veggietales? Well, you already know we're here to talk about that. Here's how Are You My Neighbor became a nostalgic classic. Before we get into the big stuff that makes Are You My Neighbor such a nostalgic episode, I should get the small critiques out of the way first. But the one aspect that I really like about this episode is how they put a Dr. Seuss style into a Bible story. Which, I love how they took their own spin on the Good Samaritan by adding a Dr. Seuss tone of the story, which I found that to be very well executed. Sure, some of the stuff they added on adapting the story is a bit odd, like, for one, why do they have shoes and pots on their head? It is weird, but it does have its charm. Also, another thing that I would praise this episode on is the animation. The animation in Are You My Neighbor honestly looks pretty way better than God Wants Me to Forgive Them. And I don't know if this is a hot take, but the animation in this episode is one of the best looking 90s animation from Veggietales. Sure, the animation in this episode is not the absolute best. I don't think it's better than Josh and the Big Wall. And some of the animation could look a little bit dated in today's standards, but out of the first 3 episodes of Veggietales, this one is easily the best one. Another great aspect about this episode is the new characters they introduced. I still enjoy the OG characters and the new characters in the second episode, but the new characters they introduced are very likable. The new characters who stand out for me is easily Jimmy and Jerry. I love their personality in this episode on how they just want to eat and sing, and it's pretty fun to see them do that. But the one thing that many people will remember this episode for is the hairbrush song. The one silly song that most people say is the best silly song. But in my opinion, and I know that this is gonna shock the Veggietales community, but the hairbrush song is kind of overrated. Now, before you get your pitchforks and your torches, let me explain. I'm not saying it's a bad song. Heck no, I do still enjoy the song for what it is. But I just don't agree on this song being the best silly song. Because in my opinion, there are other silly songs that are much better than the hairbrush song, in my opinion. I still think it's a good song, but it's kind of overhyped. But speaking of the songs, this episode sure has some good songs, composed by the legendary Kurt Heineke. Like, Kurt Heineke, I didn't mention this in my Where's God When I'm Scared review. Now I'm gonna mention him in this episode. Kurt Heineke's score is honestly really good. Like, he is up there with Michael Giacchino and Hans Zimmer. Like, he doesn't get as much praise like those composers. We give praise to composers like Michael Giacchino, Hans Zimmer, and all of those composers. But come on, can we give some respect and some praise for Kurt Heineke? Like, he is responsible for all the Veggietales music, and you gotta listen to his score and all the songs he composed. Well, he didn't compose the songs, like, that all goes to Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki. But still, listen to these songs once again and tell me that this is not peak music right here.
We're busy, dreadfully busy. You've no idea what we have to do. Busy, shockingly busy. Much too busy for you.
Love your neighbor. When someone helps you, then you'll understand. When you love your neighbor, loving means lending a hand.
Not fair. Oh, my hairbrush. Not fair. My poor hairbrush. Not fair, no hair, not fair, nowhere, no hair, not fair, not fair, not fair. My little hairbrush.
I can be your friend. I can be your friend. It's okay if we are different. We can still play 'cause I can be your friend.
Also, the story segments in this episode is a huge improvement over God Wants Me to Forgive Them. Which, if you know my problems with that episode, is the lesson teaching in that episode was not that good. But in this episode, not only the segments are way more interesting, but the lesson teaching in both story segments are really well told. Now, the lesson in Are You My Neighbor is about loving your neighbor. Now, this is a lesson we need nowadays, because we are so divided on everything right now. Whether it's with your religion, or your sexuality, or anything like that. We all think it's weird. But this episode tells us that we should love our neighbor no matter what. Your political beliefs, or anything like that. We should just love them like God wants us to do. And this episode does a really good job on explaining that lesson. Also, this episode has some comedic jokes, and for the most part, most of the jokes in this episode were really good. There were a lot of jokes that did make me laugh. Even this joke.
Well, he just moved here, so I don't know him very well. And besides, he talks kind of funny.
Now, Junior, he doesn't talk funny. He just talks different. His family is from another country.
Yeah, I know. It still sounds funny.
But yeah, what can I say that hasn't been said already? Are You My Neighbor is a very nostalgic episode that helped Big Idea find their formula on what to do in each new Veggietales installment. I don't really have much complaining with this episode compared to God Wants Me to Forgive Them. Although I do have one nitpick with this episode, which is that I feel like they should pick a better verse than Leviticus 19. But other than that nitpick, this is a fantastic episode. This is another episode that I highly recommend. My rating for this episode is a 5 out of 5 star. This is another masterpiece episode that many people will still be watching even today. Stay tuned on Why I Love Veggietales as I review Rat Shack and Benny, which I'm very hyped to review that episode. But I'm out of time for today. Remember, God made you special and He loves you very much. So until next time, see ya later, gamers.